I used to hire college kids to help do some of the yard work around the church when I was pastor in Bowling Green. And one fall, late in the fall, after the flowers had all bloomed, I had a flower bed on the south side of the church with the hardy mums, chrysanthemums, but the hardy variety that would come back and bloom every year. And so I asked one of the students if he could cut those down for me. And you have to cut them down in the fall and kind of take care of them so that they winter and come back next spring. And he said he would do it. So I got busy doing other things. The next day I ran into the student and I said, how did it go? Did you get that flower bed taken care of? And he said, yeah, you know, Father Herb, I started cutting down those mums like you told me, but I found a better way. I just pulled them all out by the roots and threw them in the dumpster. I ached inside. I loved those mums. I'm not quite sure what I said. I don't think it was real good. But I said, don't you realize I didn't want to clean the flower bed. I wanted to prepare the flower bed for next year. And I realized we were working at cross purposes. He thought my goal was to clean the bed so it looked good, void of any plants. My goal was to think about the next year's growth and how there might be blooms in another season. That student, that former student, is now a member of this parish. And we still talk about that, among other things, every so often. The gospel parable is not about mums being cut off or thrown into the dumpster. I don't think they had dumpsters in those days. But it's about a fig tree. And it offers the two alternatives: cut down the tree or help it bear fruit in the future. The same two things that I had with the mums. Pull them out by the roots and throw them in the dumpster, or help them bloom the following season. It's a real challenge because we're really not talking about figs, and we're really not talking about mums. We're talking about people. And have you ever noticed how tempting it is sometimes just to give up on somebody or some relationship? We cut them off, throw them out. But other times we find ourselves investing. And we say there could be a future, but we've got to work at it. That's the challenge of the gospel today. Now, as I read this, I've discovered, besides cutting down the tree or fertilizing it and cultivating it and planning for the future growth with the possibility of producing figs, there's actually a third thing going on. And the third thing is not so good either. The third thing is just letting it stand there. Because the owner says, I've come out here for 3 years and nothing's happened. How many times we get caught in that middle position? Oh, we don't necessarily cut down things, but we also don't expect future growth. We just sort of accept things as is. And we allow ourselves to get caught up in lethargy. It's like, as is, as will be forever. No changes. And if we let things go, that's not a successful story either, because nothing is happening. I remember my mother used to say, don't just stand there taking up space. Do something. But that's sort of what we do. Have you ever noticed it? We just kind of slip in doing the same thing we've done before. Maybe we have the same habits. Maybe we hang out with the same people, whether they're the right people or not. Maybe we have the same way of dealing with problems, even if it's not successful ways of dealing with problems. We just kind of get very passive. I've noticed it a whole lot with COVID. And our church, not just this parish, but Catholic Church, is a very interactive, participative, in-present type church. Yes, we stream, and we stream well, and we're glad that we've been able to do it. We will continue to do it. But we're also saying, have we allowed ourselves just to be like the tree that's been standing there for 3 years? Is it time to do something? And it's not just cut it down or cultivate, but really produce future, produce fruit. There's another thing you have to keep your mind on. It's not all about the tree. Just like it was not all about those mums. It's about the one who's the caregiver. The main character of this parable is actually the gardener, the one who works in the orchard. And the gardener says, I'm going to cultivate, and I will fertilize the tree, and I will help it. I like to think God is reaching out to work on us. And then we have to learn to respond. In fact, perhaps that's what all true spirituality is learning that God is working on us, and we find the right way to respond to what God is doing. God is on our side, but it's always a partnership. God wants us to respond fully. I remember when I used to be a teacher, I discovered that a lot of students had this notion that this teacher was trying to trap them or catch them off guard. But a good teacher wants the students to be successful. They want the students to learn. They want them to grow and mature. The gardener wants the tree to produce good fruit. God wants us to get beyond that lethargy of doing nothing, change our lives, and become better. And furthermore, Jesus is working at us. The gardener is Jesus. He's the one fertilizing our lives. He's the one doing the cultivation. And he's the one who's saying, there is another chance. I'm waiting for good fruit.